One-time great fighter Floyd Money Mayweather, current exhibition attention hoe, has been on some sort of show and basically tried to say that he's the best fighter of all time again. Let's see what he was on here. What does it say? Floyd Mayweather, there will never be a fighter better than me. Never. The thing is with Floyd, he begins to give his argument almost as if he's talking about greatness, and then he shifts inevitably to the amount of money he's made, to the fact he never got beat. And they're really two different things, and he almost kind of subconsciously acknowledges that they're different things as he talks. Now, I think part of the reason Floyd is more vocal with these things, it's not just to do with trying to get attention. He is genuinely trying to fight back against the narrative which has formed over the last few years. Max Kellerman has to take a lot of credit in helping engender it and form it. That Manny Pacquiao is simply a greater fighter than Floyd Mayweather. That it's more about your relative size, of course, pound for pound. Pacquiao starting at flyweight. All the weights he was successful at, whether they weren't all linear championships, but the fact you went from fly to light middle, crazy. And from my perspective, Pacquiao has just always had better single victories. What he did to Barrera in 2003, a guy who at the time was pound for pound top 5, and he thrashed him. Mayweather has never shone that brightly. He's had great wins against Diego Corrales, tamed the young Canelo Alvarez in 2013. Really good wins. They weren't exceptional moments, not like what Pacquiao had done. There's the difference. I think Floyd even kind of knows that difference. He's had a little smell of the coffee beans with some of these well-put arguments. And so he goes back to, I'm undefeated. I've made all this money. I'm better. Better and greater. Weird as that sounds, they're two different things in boxing. That's why I love the sport. It's not a linear sport. It's not like sprinting. Whoever comes first is the best. There's lots of layers to boxing. Now, Floyd being better, if you're talking about prime for prime, him being able to beat Manny Pacquiao, I might just agree with that. Back in 2009, in 2010, when the fight was just so red hot and it didn't happen. If I have to bet one way or the other looking back now, I'm going to have to go with Floyd. His defense, the fact he's naturally a bigger man, as Kellerman said, it allows him to impose his skill. And it probably would have been a better fight, but I can't bet against Floyd. I think his defense, his ability to chip away with the counter right hands, would have always molded the decision in his favor, very probably. But because he is a bigger man, because Manny did start at flyweight, it changes the whole dynamic of greatness, which is about just how big are you? What are you supposed to be able to do? And what did you actually do? With Manny Pacquiao, we had a guy who was naturally smaller and ripped apart some incredible guys, some much bigger than him naturally. With Floyd, we had an unbelievable talent who constructed a wonderful, clean slate, but always there was a little bit of reserve about him, almost in the way he fought with his naturally defensive tendencies. There was also this reserve about when he fought people. There was no fight against an undefeated Cotto. During his semi-retirement in the late noughties, after fighting Hatton, there was no fight against Paul Williams, Margarito, and I don't think that was just to do with they didn't make sense. Floyd didn't want to give up those kind of physical advantages against those guys. He always kind of preferred to have the reach advantage. I think he wouldn't have fancied a fight against Erislandy Lara for similar reasons. Not that he would have necessarily lost, but he didn't want to give up that kind of advantage that he usually enjoyed. Floyd's style was very much based on dictating with longer arms. And then when you got close, I know what you're doing. I know you're trying to hassle me. He did this from super feather up to light middle. He knew what to expect. He knew that was within his manageable range. Even though he never maxed out the light middleweight poundage, he knew what his body could do. He never wanted to, like we saw many times with Manny Pacquiao, put himself in a situation of genuine doubt. Where we're now like, okay, you might be in danger here. He always spoke about his health. Of course, what happened to his dad, Roger, they did get a bit punchy, didn't they? And they were undoubtedly things that went into the Floyd Mayweather Jr. DNA. It's partly what made him an incredible defensive fighter, not wanting to ship punishment. But at the same time, it's what made his personality a bit reserved and not wanting to jump and see if he could make it. Constructed a really nice record. Defeated undoubtedly tremendous fighters. But there's nothing he did where we thought he did something I thought he couldn't do there. And that really is the essence of greatness. Always this little micromanagement going on. Do you think when Sugar Ray Robinson lost against Jake LaMotta in the second fight, dropped a split decision against a man naturally bigger at the time, a real middleweight, he wasn't worrying about, is this right? Let's have a rehydration clause. He just got stuck in there. Really close fight, beating him before, went on to defeat him another 4 times, and just happened to drop a close split decision against a man much naturally bigger. The fact he just got that little nick and then went on to win another 90 fights against tremendous competition. Do you think that makes Floyd better? You need to have some sort of lobotomy if you think it does. Again, he starts the argument saying kind of greater, and then it slips always into I'm better, I was smarter, I made more money, and they're two different things. As the years go forward, there's always going to be that distinction between these two. I can agree that Floyd Mayweather was probably better in terms of head-to-head. If you're talking about greater, it's becoming louder. The consensus is getting thicker. It has to be Manny Pacquiao.